Hi Sanjeet.
Hello.
Welcome to one more episode of the youth series in the Values Workshop. For my guests, we've been talking about the letter K, and kindness is something that I've been wanting to ask you. Uh, I have done a few episodes earlier on kindness with other people, and at the beginning of the podcast itself.
Hmm.
But today I have a very nascent uh, germ of a thought. What is kindness? Like for your generation, which is so fast paced about everything and learning everything, how do you really fit a word like this or a thought like this so do you have any thoughts? You can go as tangential as you want.
Yeah, no, why you were asking me that question, the first thing that caught my attention was why would you say for your generation in this day and age? I mean, wouldn't kindness be kindness irrespective of which generation we are or how old we are?
Oh, yeah, fair
I
point.
I wouldn't think that those things would make a difference. I think there's so many people who are kind to you and small acts of kindness even strangers do, and I think that's what we all experience, and I'm sure it's irrespective of generations and times we live in, I feel.
Okay.
So
So I'll thank you for that provocation. That was a that was a nice take on it. I meant when I said your generation,
hmm.
let me call it our generation for that matter. I'm saying the generation that is being impacted by technology
Hmm.
uh, and inhuman experiences, if I were to call it.
Hmm.
I so I'll give you a context which is not about kindness in particular. I find that the more time I spend with my phone and my
Hmm.
laptop and devices,
Hmm.
I relate to human beings a little less. Although the content I'm watching is about
Hmm.
humanity very often.
Correct, correct,
It's
correct.
about good poetry
Hmm.
or acting or interviews or people whom I like and snippets
Hmm.
of wisdom. Uh, but at some level, there is a sense of um losing some part of my humanity,
Hmm.
uh, which which I had never felt before. So when I was growing up, there is also I'm ultra sensitive to a lot of things that a lot of people may not have noticed.
Hmm.
Some part of it also being true because of my life experiences being a little extreme at times.
Hmm.
But going to a garden or watching flowers or plants or talking to trees or is very. If you were to come and tell me that you do any of this or whatever, I would say, it's par for the course. It's good. You're
Hmm.
talking to yourself or going to the mountains and anything at all. Anything
Hmm.
in connection to nature is seen as okay.
Hmm.
I found few days back I was looking that I found that happens very less uh,
Hmm.
in comparison
Hmm.
in terms of time spent on these things. So invariably, I am actually asking the question from that point of view. I have few
Hmm.
other things to say, but then that
Hmm.
kind of softens the question right now. I want
Hmm.
you to concentrate on the quickness of talking to
Hmm.
each other and being available for each other. How do you see kindness? If you could give examples uh, vis-a-vis your um, experience with social media, for example.
Hmm. I don't know. I'm really thinking of examples I could give. Uh, I'll start, and maybe when I think of examples that come from maybe a specific instance, I'll probably talk about that. But I was just thinking about how, I mean, being there for someone is also in that sense an act of kindness. And I think I have been able to be vulnerable with someone on text, or have had taken advice from people on text. and even virtually. So in that sense, I think there's still space for it. Uh, and yeah, but I'm unable to find like specific instances. But I'm sure there's instances even on social media where there's a lot of all kinds of negative things happening. I think there's moments of kindness on social media as well. I would like to believe so.
There are. I think I am trying to struggle to get to the question so that
Hmm.
you get the hang of what I'm trying to say.
Hmm.
Um, so I'll start with an example that happened day before,
Okay.
early morning 7:30. I was talking to a friend and we were talking about um, something, and I said, I don't think you are kind to yourself enough.
Hmm.
And it was just a gut feel. We haven't spoken in days,
Hmm.
months, perhaps. Liking each other's posts and stories, I don't count as being
Hmm.
in touch. It is good. मतलब it is a reminder. Okay, Sanjeet का story है. I know Sanjeet and he's dear to me, and that's
Hmm.
okay. But it's not really being in touch because for all you know, you may be having a
Yeah.
life-changing experience, but मुझे पता भी
Correct.
नहीं है.
Agreed. Agreed.
And so she ended up saying, no, I am just plain lazy.
Hmm.
So I said, but do you not know that laziness is a form of grief?
Hmm.
So she said, oh, is it? I do not know. And then I landed up saying a few things and I shared some
Hmm.
photograph of, okay, some ज्ञान on this कि देखो ये available है
Hmm.
नेट पे,
Hmm.
ऐसा कोई नया नहीं है. And people know. But she didn't know that. And then I felt, oh, shucks, I haven't spoken to her in months and I'm getting so personal in terms of giving advice. उसने कुछ मांगा भी नहीं है.
Hmm.
And I said, sorry. She said, no, but on a daily basis, we are so stuck by routine that a
Hmm.
new learning like this, which makes me ponder on things, is very nice. Thank you for that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then we kind of like one of the new things that I do not know if it happened throughout your life. हमारे लिए आधे में conversation छोड़ के जाना was always a no. There was a
अच्छा.
closure. अभी social media और WhatsApp के वजह से क्या
हाँ
है कि
मतलब.
मतलब if we both run out of things to say, we just go away.
Yeah.
There is no official bye, okay, be right back or something. मतलब चले गए और खत्म हो गया. तो ये took some time for me to learn for sure
Hmm.
initially. तो इधर अभी normal हो गया है तो we just it just fizzled away and we went our
Hmm.
own paths.
Hmm.
So kindness does happen on social media. That means uh, so okay, I have a word that I was searching for. How does one be deliberate about this?
Hmm.
Is it something that one should like a discipline kind of thing? Okay, I want to be kind to people.
Hmm.
Is there something like that happens? What's your experience been? What's your early understanding of kindness? Has it changed over the years? Uh, what are things that
Hmm.
are non-negotiable? Like that is basic kindness. ये तो होना ही चाहिए.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so I think I'll answer as I
Yeah,
think of
please.
it. So because I just moved, so it's a new city, it's a new experience. So there's so much of kindness happening around you in that sense. And that's why recent realization that people have been really kind to me. I'll give you a small example. I was searching houses here, and it was really scary, more for my parents to be honest, because ये कहाँ रहेगा, क्या करेगा और ये सब. And then they just called up a couple of people they know in the city. And there's this one really old couple that we know, really distant relatives. I haven't met them to be honest. या कभी मिला हूँगा किसी family function में long back. I don't remember what they look like. But they just said to my mother कि यहाँ रह लेगा कुछ मिला नहीं तो हमारा घर है यहाँ पे रह लेगा जितने दिन चाहिए उतने दिन रह लेगा. Not that I was going to live, but them saying that was so comforting for my mother, and because it was so comforting for her, it was comforting for me. But
Yeah.
there's this mama that I have. He said कि हाँ तो same. He said यहाँ रह लेगा, and my mom knows that. I would put it this way: he doesn't have the biggest of houses. Let's just put it like that.
Hmm.
And him saying that really meant a lot to my mother. And
Yeah.
he called me to check up on me. or a lot of my father's friends called me to check up on me after I moved. And I don't know, there's so much warmth in the way they did that.
Yeah.
One of my sisters accompanied me to look for houses here. And I don't think I've hung out with just two of us in so many years that I've known her. And the first time she did was to help me out with something. So what I'm trying to get at is generally, as I was navigating a big life change, there's so many people around me that were constantly helping me, showing so much kindness, so much warmth, and some of those people I don't even really know properly. And what I did struggle with after that for a point is that how do you, in that sense, reciprocate kindness or reciprocate warmth? Uh,
How do you?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, so I think so. It is in a way conscious, uh, trying to be kind, and I don't. I think we all want to be. I don't think there's anyone who doesn't want to be kind to people around you, and so do I. But I think it's a conscious effort, even because you know that I direct short films. मेरे को बहुत गुस्सा आता है उन डायरेक्टर्स से जो एक्टर्स को गालियां देते हैं मतलब I mean everybody each process everybody has their process but I feel there's someone who's really vulnerable in front of you and to even talk to them like that uh, to to sort of work with them in a way that's being more empathetic to them in a way being kind to them and I think it does take conscious effort to be kind in
Wonderfully
that
said.
sense
I hope Sonia
because
Leela Bansal is not watching this episode. He is known to be very
I
strict,
yeah.
strict with his actors. Um,
Do you think that it's a choice? Do you think it's something that you do consciously?
um, okay, in the last, so my wife passed away a couple of years back, and
Hmm.
she went through a long-term disease for around
Hmm.
9 years. So 9 years we were at the receiving end of kindness of Mother, when you mentioned that strangers being kind to you, so one of the things that I did not like initially was that people stared at her because she looked, her eyes were bulging, her neck was tightened up when she got uh, uh, conscious that she was in
Hmm.
public.
Hmm.
So there was a scary imagery that came up at that point of time. And so initially I was very, very angry that leave us to our thing. Why are you staring at us? So in the elevator, because you have to go to some doctor, some treatment, some walk, something or the other was always happening. So one funny episode that had happened was there was this old Maharashtrian lady. So evening, I used to take her for a walk and make her walk. कि चलो थोड़ा जल्दी
Hmm.
चलो ऐसा करो ऐसा करो. So that lady came and stopped us. And just what is wrong with her? I was a little annoyed. What is wrong? She is unwell. No, 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 no. What is wrong with her? What is wrong with her? And I tried to put it mildly as much as you can because you don't want to hurt somebody with the truth, which was that we knew that it was going to be a tough time ahead. She said, no, no, there is this some Japanese bed which has this thing, and you have to go there, and I will call, and it is free, and you have to go first thing in the morning. It is in this place, and you take this number. Where is your phone? Write it down right now. And it was like with authority that you got to. And while well, before that episode, I had already made my peace with कि इसका छुट्टी नहीं है इंडिया में you cannot ask people not to stare. Uh, मतलब दूसरे के काम में नाक डालना बिंदास है. There is nobody who thinks it is bad. Even in
Hmm.
Bombay, मतलब which you may think कि अभी नहीं होता होगा, but होता है.
Hmm.
And then she said that we tried, it worked, it didn't work. Obviously, we knew some part of it was going to not work to the extent that we wanted. But that episode has remained with me. Like इतना हक से you have a problem and I will help you solve it, whether you like it or not. You damned be with your English manners and likes and dislikes. You have to do this, and I really like that.
Hmm.
Uh, but I have wondered, is there a Like now it happens. Like I apologized to my friend a couple of days back. Oh, I'm sorry. I first thing in the morning बहुत ज्ञान दे दिया. So that she took it nicely and she's a good friend and मतलब मैं भी ना कड़ाता ही हूँ अभी थोड़ा तो ऐसा ही हो गया हूँ. But I have tried to do it consciously. Uh, what I try and do, however, is make a joke of things that are happening. This is a very
mm,
conscious way. So if I find
mm,
you um, matlab you're struggling with something, then I'll make a joke on myself. So you don't know how to operate this. In new age lift में क्या है, these are just touch screen. Na? So people are trying. Sometimes the touch screen does not work that particular floor and all of this. These bloody they make these lifts, but they don't know the humans that operate them, and they are always. So I'll make a joke about it. And I said, मैं तो यहाँ रहता हूँ, फिर भी रोज यही करता हूँ. So suddenly you will feel a little eased out, and then I'll do it for you. Or so that keeps happening every now and then.
mm,
I get chances to. So one of the things that I'm very concerned about is the next generation and the generation after that and the generation after that,
mm,
because a lot of competition, a lot of
mm,
people aren't easygoing anymore.
mm,
They're very worked up about a lot of things in life, and
mm,
maybe they are important people. They are doing important things. ऐसा हो सकता है. But I find it a waste of life कि मतलब ठीक है ना यार, जो भी कर रहे हो वैसे जिंदगी कहाँ पूछती है, जो होना है वो तो होता ही है. Like you came and looked for a home, the whole city could be kind to you, but if you were not
mm,
uh, going to get a home, you wouldn't get a home. Man, that is simply the acceptance you have to learn.
mm,
And the
mm,
moment you accept, then good things start happening also very often. Sometimes they are not meant to happen, so they don't.
mm,
So this is something that I consciously do. I go out. So if you get me a kid who's like 5 to 7, 3 to 7 years old, who can watch me and know that this is a stranger, I don't know. So I always will do a lo-fi and then take my hand away.
mm,
Then that brings up that sense of they want to win it. So in half a minute, you have befriended that person, or they may
mm,
not, or you have opened up that kid. So because a lot of kids look at their parents first. Should I,
mm,
shouldn't I play this?
mm, mm,
But they are all for it. कि करना तो है, but अभी they are looking at their parents, and if the parent is smiling, then they do it.
mm,
Sometimes I say to hell with it, तो उसके dad mom को भी समझाता है. So
mm,
I'll keep on, then I'll make a gesture. I will talk to the kid. Uh, I find it uh, a conscious need to ease people because it's just too difficult, man. Just too
mm,
difficult. Whatever people are going through and a lot of things happening in the world, the
mm,
environment itself is not very easy.
mm,
I myself am quite stressed out about things happening in the world, all over the world. I mean, not
mm,
only in India. But sometimes I think it's okay. No, matlab, if
mm,
like we were discussing something that if this is the last moment of your life, what would you want to worry about? Well, nothing actually.
mm,
Why would you bother about anything? Just chill and let's go, man. It's okay. There's very less you can do about it. But
mm,
to get to that mind, you have to live like that. Now, you can't suddenly discover that when you're
mm,
about to go. Because that uh, thought itself might be difficult. So being kind has become um, a need for me. I
mm,
find that it uh, makes me grateful in a very
mm,
weird sort of way that
mm,
it's okay, man. It's so simple, man. कुछ ज़्यादा नहीं लगता है, man. I don't have to. So I
mm,
mean, if you are on the streets and earlier I used to give food or money or whatever.
mm,
Even sometimes when I do not have the money or
mm,
I cannot, मतलब उस टाइम उतना पैसा नहीं है तो मैं बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं दे सकता
mm,
या कुछ भी नहीं है इस वक्त, ऐसे ही भूल गया, ऐसे ही आ गया. बट अ काइंड वर्ड आई कैन से कि यार अभी नहीं है, बाद में देखते हैं. तो
mm,
दे टेंड टू एटलीस्ट लुक एट अस एज इक्वल. सो देयर आर लॉट ऑफ
mm,
देम. I give something or the other to, and they find me.
mm,
The one question I want to ask you on this is, कि how do you said we cannot repay it back.
mm.
Uh, how do you reconcile to the feeling that somebody's helped you? obviously the gratitude is there,
Yeah.
but what really happens internally? How do you process this kindness that, okay, uh, whatever, your mama offered to uh,
Hmm.
have you over for a longer
Hmm.
period of time when he
Hmm.
himself may not have the space, but
Hmm.
it didn't seem to matter to him. Now,
Correct.
this, no matter what amount of money you give him, it is never going to be enough. But a
Yeah.
good gesture like
Correct.
that.
Correct. Correct. Hmm.
So what is that feeling and what does happen inside, and how do you look at gratitude? What is it that you do to feel quote unquote worthy of it?
No, fortunately, I don't feel. I mean, I have friends who have said that to me. How do you feel worthy of somebody's? But unfortunately, I have never felt unworthy of it in that
Huh.
sense.
No, no, I mean consciously.
No, no,
Obviously,
no.
there is no
I know.
worthy.
But now, what I was trying to say is, I mean, I do struggle with it a lot. How do you reciprocate in that sense? And I'm someone who is not always very vocal about what I feel. So
Okay.
that makes it even more harder to, I mean, at
No.
least let the other person know that you are grateful about it. But yeah, I mean, and this might sound like a cliche, but I guess it's true. When people are being kind to you, I think it's easier to be kind to other people in that sense.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you a question. Or do you want to talk about this more?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. So I have a thought on that.
Hmm.
It is not okay. The monks episode that I did a couple of episodes back, Ajan Jaisaro.
Hmm.
So I had a
Hmm.
question. I had asked him a question in one of the Zoom meetings where he was addressing an audience, and you could ask him questions. And
Hmm.
uh, so over a period, I have become an atheist. I do not believe in the existence of an entity
Hmm.
that overlooks everything that happens in the world.
Hmm.
I have no problem with people having any view, but I personally am convinced that there is no such thing that is going to come up or do anything like that.
Hmm.
So I told him I come from a point of faith, like
Hmm.
from a tradition of faith, and personally I have been very, very comfortable believing in an entity, and
Hmm.
you could name it anyone. matlab. You name any, abhi Ganesh Chaturthi, I have sang in Ganpati Mandals, I have danced on the road, and I have
Hmm.
sang उसके बाद दुर्गा पूजा और ये सब आता है, माता के भजन भी गाए हैं, सब मैंने मंदिर जाके गाए हैं अपने ट्रेडिशन में. I have done some crazy things in faith and belief.
Hmm.
I have been all kinds, like being a complete believer, being an agnostic, uh, an atheist. Um, but I told him that question I had asked him at that point of time, that I still feel it's a benevolent world. I am taken care of.
Hmm.
I have no clue what or who or there is. I cannot bring to mind an entity and feel grateful about it. But the
Hmm.
universe itself is a very benevolent force.
Hmm.
So I said, I have no question. This is what I wanted to tell you. So you tell me whatever you wanted to say. So
Hmm.
he said, yes, it is a good trait to have. Continue that. It's one of the, um, well, he said it's one of the uh, points or feelings that Buddha says happens to enlightened people, kind of thing. And next 4 days, I couldn't meditate properly because I thought, okay, I have reached somewhere. And then I said, to hell with it. अभी काम करो जो करने आता है.
Hmm.
Because ये ऐसा नहीं होने वाला खत्म.
Hmm.
So yeah, but it felt nice to be acknowledged that I'm on the right path as far as this thought is concerned.
Hmm.
And so to contextualize what you were saying, individual acts of kindness, I see sometimes I may miss out sometimes also. You may be
Hmm.
kind to me, and in my own um, self occupation with
Hmm.
myself all the time,
Hmm.
I may have missed out on if you've been kind to me.
Hmm.
But I have no um, no doubt that it is a good world. It's always going to be good. Uh, not in a hope kind of thing. That way I'm quite pessimistic. It's quite a lousy world. It's going down the drain in every way possible. But even that is part of the plan, and that is a good part of the plan. I do not see it as कि ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए, कोविड क्यों हो गया, ऐसा ये क्यों होना चाहिए, वो it was scary and shocking when it was happening. Because I remember going to fetch milk or something. You had this half an hour gap where you could go get it. So I thought it's like a bad Hollywood movie जहाँ सब बंद है, ये क्या eerie है पूरा चीज कि तुम ऐसे रात में जा रहे हो क्योंकि एक दुकान तुमको मालूम है जहाँ मिल जाएगा. So it was something that one is not prepared for. But also what amused me that we are so proud and cocky of creating this world in the modern avatar that it is. And all it took was a small bug or a small virus, if it existed at all. Matlab, I do not know if it was a biological weapon or something. Sorry, I forgot to put it on. So how do you see it? Was a question that I kept thinking. And I came to a point that, look, the world is what it is. You keep on creating the world as you go along. How you are is how you make the world. Because there's no other world. One of the nicer things that I read some time back was, in my mind, in your mind, there is no other person. Your point of view of the world is only your point of view. There is just nobody who exists. And I thought it's a terrific thing to stumble upon. If you were to just be with it. It's not an easy thought to digest. But in your mind, so you say it is a kind world, this, that. I'm sure there are people who might have acted like asses and said things that are unfair and not good. अभी उसका क्या, why aren't you balancing things out? You also have to acknowledge that there are idiots in this world, and अभी इसका तो अंत ही नहीं है ना. There will always be many points of view. One is unaware of how to go about these things. I have a question that just came up. Just give me a second.
I want to ask you a question.
Please.
Because we said that it's a conscious or deliberate choice in that sense. I'm sure there have been times when it's felt like it's hard to be kind. What I mean by that is when when you're not doing well, for example, or something really bad is happening, or you're really, I mean, I had a moment where I was really frustrated with life. And is it hard to be kind in those moments? And if yes, how would you, or how have you dealt with it?
To be kind to yourself has to be the first thing that you do every time. There is no, मतलब उसमें question ही नहीं है. See, this ownership of this mind and body na, is a very tricky thing. We identify so strongly with it that we are unable to let go of the feel, understanding that it is luck by chance that all of this is. It's not luck by chance, but I would not want to get into the sphere of karma and cause and effect. It's too huge, and my understanding is weak, and the podcast is not the place. But for want of a better, what is your choice in becoming who you are? Why you were born the way you are, to the parents that you were born, and the features that you have or you don't have. We make all these superficial things like we were discussing haircut and shirt and tie, this and English and Hindi. Do you even, like, I just read this some time back that we presume that a lot of things are in place because they are just in place and they are not dramatic enough. But say, for example, both of us understand English and understand the same meaning of the same words. That is why we are able to have a conversation.
Correct.
We don't think about it. So somewhere, what is the big deal about all these things? We are just making a big deal about things that we want to make a big deal of. So conscious kindness to me, matlab, now I'm trying to think
Hmm.
why I started
Hmm.
thinking like this is, I think, I feel it's a very unfair world,
Hmm.
very, very strongly unfair world. And
Hmm.
uh, the powerful, in any manner they are powerful, are
Hmm.
subjugating, killing, decimating each and every person who belongs to any kind of
Hmm.
uh, lower power, I would call it.
Hmm.
So whether you are a woman or a Dalit or a undeveloped citizen of an undeveloped country, underdeveloped
Hmm.
country,
Hmm.
whether you have lack of money or looks
Hmm.
or language, it's a very unfair world.
Hmm.
And this is generic. I am not even for this political
Correct.
system or that, whether
Hmm.
democracy is better or not, and all those things can be debated. But I find it is,
Hmm.
and I have felt very uh, suffocated by this for a long, long time.
Hmm.
So I remember when I became a writer and I used to try writing uh, essays to myself to check how
Hmm.
well I could write or express myself. So I had written some, I don't even remember what the essay was about, but it was about, there is this guy called Raju who has this, who's part of a local orchestra, and he's just a nice person. There is nothing important about him.
Hmm.
He's, so this is to give you a context. When I grew up, बैंजो प्लेयर्स ऐसे होते थे यार, वो गणपति को लेके जाते थे, that
Hmm.
irritating sound sometimes, and
Hmm.
tan 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 tan, and the continuous that used to run in your head, man.
Hmm.
But that was their life and they were happy doing it.
Hmm.
And very often even now when I see, uh, अभी कल किसी को देखा साइकिल लेके जा रहा था, वो पुराना वाला ब्लैक एटलस गोल्ड लाइन,
No.
he had loaded it with stuff and he was just walking the cycle somewhere because it was super loaded on every
Hmm.
part of the cycle was dumped with something that he was carrying.
Hmm.
So एक ऐसा, it was covered, so I don't know what it was. So it,
Hmm.
for want of a better thing, so maybe it could have been pav bread that he was
Hmm.
carrying, but it was like super loaded. And I was thinking साला वो चल के जा रहा है यार, मैं गाड़ी पे जाता हूँ, एक एक सेकंड मेरा गाड़ी को किक मारना पड़ता है, आई डोंट लाइक इट, आई हैव एन
Hmm.
एक्टिवा.
Hmm.
Abhi, I'm so used to that bloody stupid push button thing that I get irritated when I have to use the kick. And
Hmm.
sometimes it doesn't work because it hasn't seen a human foot for
Hmm.
years. तो मतलब कितना privilege है ना, कितना sense of
Hmm.
privilege है.
Hmm.
And my, this, when you watch a movie like The Matrix
Hmm.
or old movies like Ek Doctor Ki Maut and
Hmm.
other things which completely subjugate Akrosh, I don't have answers, man. I have realized I don't have answers for most of the questions that are being asked. And
Hmm.
I feel very, very frustrated about the fact. इतना
Hmm.
बड़ा दिल और ये वो सब तुम कॉलर टाइट करो जो भी करना है, but
Hmm.
world is not becoming a better place.
Hmm.
So I kind of realized that what if I became the better person that I could be? Whatever.
Hmm.
मतलब slightly, obviously there are going to be faults, there are going to be off days. मैं गुस्से में आता
Hmm.
हूँ, गाली देता हूँ, झगड़ा करता हूँ.
Hmm. Yeah.
पेट्रोल पंप पे वो ज्यादा टाइम लगाता है तो तुमको स्कैन करने नहीं आता यार, तुम क्या कर रहे हो, छुट्टा लेने वहां गए, whatever
Hmm.
nonsense. But what if it is a deliberate choice that I decide that I'm going to do this? So then it becomes part of my
Hmm.
attempt.
Hmm.
And that attempt starts becoming a habit of sorts.
Hmm.
You will fail, matlab you will fail more times than not, by the way. That
Hmm.
is equally true.
Hmm.
But at least then you will find some or the other reason to be kind at some
Hmm.
point.
Hmm.
So abhi podcast, last week there was none. Earlier I used to get very frustrated, but I'm now
Hmm.
I'm okay with it. It is what it is, and you stop identifying with the kindness or the doing
Hmm.
of things or not doing of things, and
Hmm.
you relax. जो हो रहा है चलो इसको देखते हैं.
Hmm.
I also find life becomes much more expanded
Hmm.
on its own. So, for example, once you are quiet and calm, you will find that there is more work you can do within less time.
Hmm.
Matlab there are laws of nature that work, but you are unaware because you are so blinded by your point of view. And
Hmm.
I know I am. Matlab some days, matlab I know I have few days back, I do not know, I think 2-4 हफ्ते हो गए होंगे. There was one day when I was just swearing at no one in particular. I was just angry at के just मतलब screwed up world है यार, क्या हो रहा है, क्या हो रहा है? And it was 30 seconds, माने उससे ज्यादा गुस्सा ही नहीं आता. I just fizzles out कि ठीक है यार. So what do you want to do good to yourself? Go back to whatever the point is. I say कि चल, I'll go and have a whatever lime soda एक जगह बहुत अच्छी मिलती है जाके वहाँ बेटा चुपचाप तुम पी रहे हो, वो अपना काम कर रहे हैं, वो बुढ़ी अंकल बुढ़े आंटी मतलब सारे लोग आपस में वो काम कर रहे हैं, वॉचिंग के. इट्स टिपिकल नाम भी है कानिफनाथ, वो टिपिकल भगवान का फोटो है. और शुगर केन जूस मिलता है, दूसरे जूस मिलते हैं, थोड़ा क्वालिटेटिव स्टफ है. अच्छा, देन यू फील सडनली गुड यार कि क्या मस्त है ये, मतलब नींबू पानी है या नींबू सोडा है, बहुत मस्त है यार, या पानी पूरी है, वट एवर इट, what makes you happy. And then you're like, yeah, it's okay, it's not a bad world. And you then it's still there, the remnants of that anger or whatever there, then you're walking and saying, okay. So I realize that it is, so becoming the word is actually coming to be. And coming to be is a deliberate choice. Becoming क्या है ना, noun form जैसा ये बन जाता है कि it's a state of becoming जैसा. There is a finality to it, but when you break it down, you suddenly is कि you are coming to be, so you are making attempts to be this. So I am becoming an angry person. So it's a choice. We don't spend time on understanding, and this will only come when you are kind to yourself. How will you? But if you don't give yourself the time and space to say that I am important, my feeling at this moment, however anxious, angry, frustrated, wrong, is only momentary. Just let me live with it. It's okay. I don't need to be so perfect. Because that is also one thing that keeps on gnawing into you.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's slightly tangential but related to what you were saying. Ki, for me, sometimes being a kind person seems almost aspirational. And what I mean by that is, मैं अभी 2 हफ्ता पहले ट्रेन से ट्रैवल कर रहा था और जो टीसीआई है वो इतने इतने प्यार से बात कर रहे थे और इतना अच्छा बात कर रहे थे टू एवरीवन फॉर नो रीजन. एंड मैं बस सोचा कि यार ये कितनी ट्रेनों में ऐसे जाते होंगे रोज.
बराबर.
एंड स्टिल ही इज सो नाइस एंड सो काइंड.
Yeah.
So in that sense it just feels aspirational to me. Maybe it's something that I want to do. I'm not sure if I'm able to do it all the time.
Again, that is too strong. Let me use the right word. We are so involved with reaching a point that we forget that this is a journey.
No, I was getting at that bit. I mean, what you said made so much sense to me of constantly becoming that person. I'm sure with that person who I mentioned probably has moments of all sorts. I had
absolutely.
So no, it made sense. I mean, it's a constant journey in that sense.
And that requires realigning yourself to the paradigm that you're seeing. Because what we see is always this. So I have had friends who've gone through very good times in business and very bad times in business. And I'm talking serious big numbers. So even then, when I was friends with them, I used to say, यार तुम्हारा कुर्सी सबको चाहिए. तो कुर्सी के नीचे की आग किसी को नहीं चाहिए. Because when big numbers come, so big people come and big connections and big political figures enter the equation. A lot of things happen. And I used to walk like this only. Those guys, one of the guys always made fun of me. He says, you're always in shorts and we are all dressed up and all. I told him, this is my working dress. The day I wear shirt and pant and come, that means I am going to fib around and make presentations and do nothing. But for a writer, writing is the work. Everything else is like time pass ke chalo presentation acha kiya and I am looking very presentable. I am entering an office and wearing shoes and but I would rather be at a chai ka katta, have chai and talk to friends and my brain is ticking that I need to think of an idea and come up with something. So even while I'm talking to you, I am conscious that oh, there is something I promised somebody that I need to see and check and do. So so kindness is actually a not only kindness, anything that you're wanting to be, you just go on being that.
Correct.
Momentarily. And at some point it will break through and um, perhaps that is where now I'm seeing the wisdom of your first response to the question. It has to be timeless. It cannot be because it's a human endeavor. It's not.
Correct.
So technology might come in and it is again that is also human endeavor to better our lives. Like one of my friends and we've had these huge discussions earlier. I need to revisit that debate with him and figure out where we individually stand now. Yes. So we used to. So he's a technology guy in IT, a genius fellow, and I kept saying, I see it as a hindrance at times because you're easing things for people who are not responsible about the ease. So smartphone सबके हाथ में है. Smartphone का usage cannot be social media alone. मतलब genuine उसका use है तो हम 5 बार कॉल कर लेते हैं संजीत किधर है यार किधर है without understanding the need of you being available to me need not be immediate unless it is immediate for an urgent reason or some emergency. तो वो चीज चली गई है यार 15 बार कॉल किया यार तू है नहीं यार क्या हो गया तो this becomes irresponsible. तो he says that is your problem ना. टेक्नोलॉजी ने क्या किया it just eased your that you could have reached this guy in time. We provided that. So he comes from that and I have to accept, yes, of course, that is there. I don't know where I stand on this right now because he seems more right. I hope he doesn't see this episode. So, yeah, the point I'm trying to make is that the same emotion could have different expressions at different point of time. So kindness sometimes one of the examples that we have learned and spoken about very often is when you have I'm a parent. Sometimes you have to be strict with your kid. There is just no choice about it. So there, if you were to ask me, so how does one become kind? So I more often than not, I give her a reason why I am saying what I am saying. So that is my respect for you as an individual. But the decision is mine, so I have taken this decision, but I am respecting you enough to tell you why. But there are days when I'm saying I'm the dad, I know best, khatam. No discussion. Because I am frustrated right now and we shall talk, but not now. And where so she taught me this. It is all reversal. This whole thing of giving it a name subjugates its identity actually. Constricts it somehow. So for example, she told me once that, what I like most about you is that you don't hold on to things. If you're angry after 1 or 2 hours, you come and you will start talking normally. You let go of things. So I didn't know then that I did this. But I made a choice that she's told me this seems like a nice trait. I should continue this because long-term fayda hi hoga. If your kid is talking to you and telling you what's happening in their lives, it's a good thing. One of the realizations I'm having is that when I started this episode, I thought kindness might be restrictive as a subject. But my instinct about that we could slice it and go some places actually falling in place.
I am, because you talked about the realization that you are having. While you're talking about it, and this is what I was just constantly thinking of. I have such a micro level understanding of kindness in that sense. what I mean by that is my definition of kindness comes so much from my what happens to me in that, in a very micro sense of the word. You were talking about things that happen in the world and how that affects you. And not to say it does not affect me, but I don't know, in my day-to-day life, in that sense, I think I'm very myopic when it comes to these things. And
At your age,
I
I
think
think it
I'm
is okay. Because, so again, I would use the same term becoming, because you have not
Hmm,
become something yet. Now, in your
correct,
head, you are still the biggest question in your life, who am I, has not been answered.
correct, correct.
And that, as long as that search is honest and authentic,
Hmm.
and like you said, that I disagree with you on the director bit of it. If you're a director, I think you should be strict. Not in terms of communication necessarily,
Correct.
but they should respect you. Matlab, in a very
For
no nonsense term. Like you are creating a space, but they should know you are the one who's created that space. I have a
uh,
reason for it.
okay. I mean, firstly, I feel, matlab, in the sense, I agree with what you're saying, but I also feel you don't have to be strict
Ah,
or be aggressive to prove any of that. I think
true. That's why
if
I
you
said
are
it.
able to communicate with people and make sure that they get your point,
Yeah, yeah.
I think they respect you in the sense that of your creative sensibilities. And I think no, what I'm trying to get at is उसके लिए aggressive होने की जरूरत नहीं है. And I'm sure you
Ah,
agree with that, right?
ah, again, it's too binding. So when you are on the set,
Hmm.
your
Hmm.
first responsibility is to deliver what you have promised to yourself or to
Agreed.
them.
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
if that requires you change plan midway and behave in a certain manner, it's okay to behave like that. You
Okay.
can apologize later also if you feel like. But
True.
during that time, and if you are genuinely coming from a space of doing the right thing,
Hmm.
then people buy into it and they understand where you're coming from. So I'll tell you one funny episode that had happened. We had done a, I will send you that film also.
Hmm.
So I was the production guy on that. I had
Hmm.
hired a director and वो denim का film था. We
हाँ.
had foreign models and we were into low budgets meant lowest of low budgets.
Hmm.
And somehow we arranged for stuff and I was very good at these things. And so we had got it like the foreign models, there were 5 or 6 in number. So you got two, like I got two through you, two through some other agent, one through somebody.
Hmm.
So there's one agent who, so you called some other agent and got one.
Hmm.
तो मेरे लिए रशियन है, लंबी है, बिकिनी डालना है, उसका हाइट बॉडी सब ठीक है, तो चलो वो
Hmm.
एवरीथिंग वाज ओके. आई डोंट नो दिस गाय.
Hmm.
And then suddenly he says something, and I have made the best arrangements possible only for the foreigners. All Indians
Hmm.
are being treated like Indians. तो मतलब एयर कंडीशन रूम है एक ही है, तो वही सारे
हाँ.
फॉरेनर्स के लिए है, उनके लिए काजू बादाम जा रहा है, तुम चुपचाप खाओ वड़ा पाव और बिरयानी, तो इससे ज्यादा नहीं मिलेगा.
हाँ.
So that guy is getting angry कि she doesn't have a separate room or something.
Hmm.
And this is almost at the V end of the shoot. My director is acting like a director and getting
Hmm.
excited about nonsensical things. मैं बहुत प्रैक्टिकल डायरेक्टर था कि जो क्लाइंट को प्रॉमिस किया पहले वो करो, बाद में बाकी भाड़ में जाए तुम्हारा क्रिएटिव.
Hmm.
बिकॉज वो शॉर्ट्स नहीं हुआ और कल के लिए बजट नहीं है, मतलब ये साला बजट ऑलरेडी
Correct.
एकदम एज पे, मतलब लास्ट में मैंने उस पर्टिकुलर सेट में वड़ा पाव दिए थे.
Hmm.
नाउ आई फील मिसरेबल अबाउट इट, बट दैट पॉइंट आई फेल्ट कि क्लेवर थिंग टू डू, सबका पेट भी भर गया शांति से.
Hmm.
तो बट विच इज नॉट अ वे दैट वन शुड ऑब्वियसली ट्रीट पीपल. बट अभी वो सोचता हूँ, तभी मैं नहीं सोच
Hmm.
रहा था, तभी इट वॉज
Hmm.
जस्ट विद इन बजट कैसे करें.
Hmm.
So that guy started fighting with me. I said, "तू भाड़ में जा." ऐसा I told him something. So he says, "I am taking this girl and going."
Hmm.
And I am like, I completely lost it. I said, "अरे ये आधे शूट में लड़की चली गई, इसका शॉट हुआ है कि नहीं मुझे वो भी नहीं मालूम."
हाँ.
And so I just folded my hands and I said, "I'm really sorry about this." And he got, मतलब he was a पंजू और दिल्ली वल्ली का कोई बंदा था, तो he got very annoyed. He says, "कभी हाथ नहीं जोड़ने का, गले मिल तू." something. Okay, how can you, being a Punjabi, do this too? I said, अरे भाई, अभी तो तेरे पैर भी छू लेता मैं, मतलब मैं भी producer हूँ. I have got nothing to do with it. So yeah, Mani, these stories are about getting things done. And so there was one shot that was being shot in a. The girl was uncomfortable because this guy was making her do things which were very borderline vulgar, which was not part of the script as we had seen it. But when you get a director on board, and you cannot have two directors on the set.
Correct, correct.
So if you are insisting कि यार मैं करूँगा मेरे स्टाइल में, so then I have to again plead with you and say कि तू एक normal shot कर ले, उसके बाद जो भाड़ में जा तू और तेरा model. So at least I should have that safety shot, what is called. तो बहुत सारी चीजें हैं which require you to be very. तो he said अभी light ठीक नहीं लग रहा तो this one girl I am not using. I said one girl I am not using. I have paid for her. You have to use her now. तो ऐसा छोटा 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 चीज where I, मतलब this whole thing is about kindness only.
Yeah.
But it is clarity. So certain places kindness cannot be taken advantage of. So
Correct, agreed,
if you
agreed.
require, so this Saturday project that we do where we cook every meals for people, there are so many people who come and act very obnoxious, man. I am quite okay with whatever has to be said. So this time we made sandwiches, club sandwiches or
I
something.
mean, you by people you volunteers?
We are like 5-6 friends who cook some meal every Saturday and we distribute it to 100 people. For last couple of years now. So I'll send you the link. We write the menu and the volunteers and the spent and all that stuff is there. It's very interesting because all of these are exotic meals. Like club sandwich बनाया है हमने.
Oh, अच्छा, nice.
तो जल्दी खत्म हो गया. 1 बजे 2-3 लोग हैं जो थोड़ा ऐसा हट से आते हैं. 2 दे दो, 5 दे दो, 4 दे दो. And they don't. Sometimes we give, sometimes we don't. So this guy is standing and telling me, finished. I said, yeah, finished. He's saying, what can be said? I said, yeah, what can be said? And he's looking at me as if like I am supposed to do something extra. No, मैं क्या करूं? So he says, did you know that it was going to finish so soon? I said, I had no clue, but we were making sandwiches. There was some idea that it might happen faster than our regular meals.
Yeah.
Then he looks at me, and I stand. I have no qualms about खत्म हो गया अब मैं क्या करूं? Then he says, next time ज़्यादा देना फिर. I said, yeah, what can I say? So I am clear that, kindness is one thing and sharing is one thing. One loves to share. But there is no sense of feeling overwhelmed by what we are doing or हमारे पास है तो कर रहे हैं ना.
Correct, correct.
Like you said, there are days when you. This is a nice answer to what you asked. Some days when you are frustrated, well, you can only give what you have. So if you are kind, to yourself, then you can give kindness. If you are pissed with the world, I think you are only going to give galis and fight. And
that's an interesting. I think that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. You can give what you have.
And one funny note that I would want to end the conversation on. So one of the ways that I am kind to people is by not fighting with them. So I am on my Activa and often like all two-wheeler drivers, I am quite a. मतलब पतली गली देखा तो इधर उधर इधर अभी तो 40 साल हो गए चला के. Every gully I can go into and little space I know how to negotiate and get in. So the four-wheeler guys get very irritated. Other two-wheelers who are not as quick as me or may not know. I don't drive rashly. This is definitely not an advertisement for driving irresponsibly. तो खैर मैं ऐसा निकल जाता हूँ, but I will never show you my eyes. Like if you are looking at me angrily, you will not see my eyes back in, so you cannot do anything because I am looking at the road. मैं निकला अभी तेरे को गुस्सा है, तू प्यार में है, तू जो भी है वो तेरा प्रॉब्लम है. I will not fight with you. That is one kindness that happens, but because I don't want to fight, I have realized that that is also a very important thing to do. Okay, you can go away from situations that Hindi word sounds better here. Visfotak. situation, so which can blow up
Right.
and create problems with other people. So stay
Hmm.
out of it and stay with yourself. Try and spend some time.
Hmm.
ये बाद में बात करेंगे, थोड़ा ठंडा हो जाएंगे तो सर,
Hmm.
एक दिन, 2 दिन, 4 दिन, 6 दिन,
Hmm.
or else uh, one of the things that may happen, because you're saying it's a constant process that you're going to look at, then
Hmm.
in the middle of a fight you may not use a bad word.
Hmm.
तब you stop. It has come to
Ah,
your mind, it has not come to
correct.
your tongue, it's coming कि अभी संजीत को सुना ही देता हूँ,
Hmm.
but you just let go and say कि नहीं यार. So you
Hmm.
will use a milder word, or you will just
Hmm.
say रहने दे यार, क्या ही बोलूं तुझे. तो your
Correct.
is also kindness, and sometimes not acknowledged as such, but it is kindness.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
I think that has happened. I mean, I know of a friend, and I'm someone who, when I fight, I shout a lot. It doesn't mean anything. I
बराबर.
mean, हाँ, उसके मतलब 5 मिनट बाद मैं बिल्कुल नॉर्मल हो जाएगा, मतलब ऐसा कुछ उसका ये नहीं, बट बिकॉज आई डोंट गेट एंग्री दैट ऑफन, एंड व्हेन आई डू गेट एंग्री आई शाउट, पीपल रियली गेट थ्रोन ऑफ.
Yeah.
There's this friend of mine who can't handle loud voices. So every time I do get into a fight with her now, I make sure that I don't raise my voice. I mean, I'm still agitated, but without the high pitched voice.
Yeah, you don't. Wonderful. I remember I did that with my wife. In the initial 3 years of her problem, we were very frustrated very often.
Mm.
Uh, no, in fact, even before that, she had said something that I used against her. Why? I said, so now I find myself, when I look back, I think how kiddish is that, and how vengeful and stupid is
Mm.
that. But well, you live with that, be kind to
Mm.
yourself and say, hopefully you won't do this,
Mm.
repeat this as much as possible. Uh, Not to
Can
say,
I can I ask you something?
yeah, please.
And this might be a little repetitive and also a little personal, if you don't mind. You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
not answer it if you.
Hmm.
But when you're going through something which you went through with your wife, is it, I mean, how does kindness factor in when something like that is going on with you uh, constantly? I'm sure it must have been hard for you to deal with it and
No, so kind to whom?
to each other in that sense and to
Well,
yourself.
only in the last few months of her life, she was happy that she had married me. And 3-4 years was good in that sense. Last 3-4 years was good,
Hmm.
uh, where we had kind of reconciled to our schedules. And so one of the things that I tried and did was that, see, because the condition was such that it threw up things that you could not plan. तो
Correct.
सडनली
Hmm.
चक्कर आ रहा है, आज मैं क्या करूं,
Hmm.
मैं क्या करूं, मैं क्या करूं,
Hmm.
डॉक्टर के पास आंसर नहीं है,
Hmm.
मैं क्या करूं का क्या आंसर है, और
Hmm.
तुम्हारे पास क्या आंसर है. तो हाउ डू यू काम हर डाउन.
Hmm.
तो समटाइम्स यू विल शाउट कि अरे टू हेल विद यू, मैं थोड़ी डॉक्टर हूँ, तुमको समझ नहीं आ रहा है वो सब.
Hmm.
बट देन इफ आई शाउट टू मच, तो देन शी गेट्स एंग्री, फिर सरदर्द भी है,
Hmm.
रो भी रही है,
Hmm.
बिकॉज शी इज ऑलरेडी अ पेशेंट ना, शी हैज दिस
Correct, correct, correct. Hmm.
प्रॉब्लम. So then I am quiet, and some days sometimes I have been a complete ass. So
Hmm.
then I am also feeling very overwhelmed. I call up
Hmm.
my friend and he says, but you're taking care of her. These things are bound to happen.
Hmm.
Don't don't bother. Matlab, then you are also not, see, to be a continuous reader of how you are is a
Hmm.
job. And it is
Hmm.
बहुत सालों का जर्नी है वो, मतलब जल्दी नहीं होता है, इमीडिएट नहीं होता है. बट आई हैव बीन, so you become kind to yourself, you become kind to her. Some days you shout because
Hmm.
of kindness, because you want to give her strength.
Oh, what do you mean? What do you mean by that?
So there was one episode. So there was very early in the morning. I used to wake up before she woke up, because otherwise I couldn't meditate, because मेरा
Hmm.
schedule खराब हो जाता था. I
Hmm.
needed to be. So my dad was also going through Alzheimer's at a time. So both of these
Hmm.
cases were heavy duty cases, and
Hmm.
uh, at that point of time, I had to find time for myself was very important,
Hmm.
because I wanted to know what I felt about anything, and
Hmm.
part of it was meditation, because it just calmed me down and said, "Okay, chal, to hell with everything.
Hmm.
ये 1 घंटा शांत है." Because on the on the cushion, the world can go and crash itself. It doesn't matter. You are focused to whatever extent you can. There is a sense of calmness no matter how bad your setting is. Something does get better because genuinely the effort is to be calmer, quieter, peaceful. So like I said कि जो बन रहे हो वो तुम बना रहे हो ना उस समय. तो वो सुबह 5 बजे था और she had woken up and she used to freeze in one place, so she couldn't walk. And मैं भी तभी उठा था, but I didn't know कि she had already freezed, and I got up. I don't remember where I was. I may have come out of the bathroom or something, and she was standing there, and her bladder control had failed, and she was crying. And this was 5 in the morning. And I am telling her, जब रोना मुझे चाहिए ना, साफ मैं करने वाला हूँ. So she laughed or something, and then I laughed. तो नहीं, she used to, for a woman it's a very agitating thing, obviously. So then I said कि जब साफ मैं करने वाला हूँ और मैं जब शांत हूँ, जब मैं कुछ नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, why are you being this? तो and I said अगर रोगी तो मैं मारूंगा. And मतलब she knew कि मैं फटका मारूंगा, तो फटाफट शांत हो जाएगी. And then so this is how you become angry to, or pseudo angry to calm her down and get her there. उसका opposite भी है. She used to lose her voice. उसको जोर से मारा तो वो गुस्से में आती थी, गुस्से में आती थी तो बोलती थी मार क्यों रहे हो, तो आवाज निकल जाता था. बट अभी दैट कैन नॉट बी अ सॉल्यूशन. कोई डॉक्टर नहीं बताता. बट तुमको अच्छा लगता है उसका आवाज आ गया वापस, तो इतना बड़ा प्रॉब्लम नहीं है तुमको लगता है. बट तुम मार रहे हो, मतलब तुम लिटरली मार रहे हो. माने इट इज नॉट वन ऐसा प्यार से टपकी नहीं दे रहे. तो यू डोंट नो मतलब व्हाट टू डू. मतलब we had solutions that the doctors would not know कि they exist. Matlab, there have been funny episodes like when our voice wasn't there, one allopathic doctor had given some medicine, and our Ayurvedic specialist said, don't give that. And in 3 months, her voice was back. So doctor said, stop this now. I mean, we hadn't opted to take it only. तो stop क्या करें? तो डॉक्टर को पता ही नहीं है. डॉक्टर इज सेइंग कि ये चल कैसे रही है, ये कैसे हो गया, वो कैसे. तो अभी उसको बताना मुश्किल था कि hey, karma is a big thing, man, and it is, there is no escape. Whatever you are doing, whatever you have done, all of it is a complex thing that has some effect every now and then, and you have to keep watching, keep studying, and yeah, try and be conscious about whatever one is doing. And that is how it is. मतलब you may be angry at times, you may be, intent ढूंढना पड़ता है, और वो भी एक जॉब है. मतलब मैं तो ड्रामेटिक सिचुएशंस बता रहा हूँ. सिंपलर चीज भी है ना अभी. On a मतलब amusing note, so both of them used to go for a therapy called neurotherapy. So they used to kind of it's like a acupressure with hands and feet both. तो वो खड़ा रहेगा तुम्हारे पैर के ऊपर, वो पॉइंट्स दबाएगा जो उसको मालूम है. तो उससे काफी हमको फायदा हुआ था. Dad used to rush. He couldn't pause in one place, and she couldn't walk. I had to balance pulling him back and pulling her forward while I am also looking for a rickshaw. So the rickshaw also has to agree to take these kind of patients because rickshaws think कि क्या होने वाला है, क्या हो रहा है. So there are मतलब हजार चीज होता है. मतलब there are things I'll tell you. मतलब already I have told you a couple of things that, but it is, you get wisdom when you want it. Life is kind. That's the one thing I can surely tell you. If you keep yourself open to being whoever you are, as authentic, as honest as possible, you will find solutions always. So in that sense, it's a benevolent world, perhaps. Matlab, if you are angry and agitated and looking for problems, then you will also find problems. Matlab, that way, the universe is very kind. It gives you exactly what you have asked. It has no mind of its own. ऐसा मेरा सोचना है. Whatever little bit I see. So the day you are very pissed, you will find every second thing adds
going wrong.
हाँ, तो it adds to that. एक कार्लस कास्टनेडा का बुक भी था, जर्नी टू इग्जलान. उसमें ही says कि if you are angry, the coffee maker will also conk off. मतलब your energy has that kind of power. हो सकता है, माने I don't know, मतलब I can't say that surely, but yeah, it doesn't make you happy, so that is good enough for me. Better be kind and happy,
Yeah.
peaceful, whatever.
Hmm.
So wonderful. Thank you for this episode. It's always nice talking to you. I think I should start thinking of having you as a regular guest and think of
I
some
would,
series.
yeah, I would love it. No, thank you so much for inviting me again. And even the first time and this time, what was really interesting is, मतलब I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know कि
Yeah,
मतलब क्या बोल रहा हूँ. Is it making sense? Is it not making sense? What I really find interesting is the process that we go through during that podcast. मतलब पहली बार तो आप मतलब आपके बारे में कुछ मालूम नहीं था, कुछ भी मालूम नहीं था. नाउ आई थिंक आई नो बिट अबाउट यू. बट तभी भी हम कुछ एक जर्म से स्टार्ट करते हैं और फिर कुछ बिल्ड करते जाते हैं और उसमें देयर सो मच दैट वी आर एबल टू बी वल्नरेबल एंड देन वी reveal things and we find things about ourselves and generally about things,
that is the
which
space.
I think which is
That is,
I just love being in that process for that 1 hour is what I really like. And thank you for making me a part of
yeah. I'll think about this seriously because anyway, I'm running out of guests for the youth series. As you know, a bit of the problems. Uh,
it.
uh, Also, interesting that you would say that there is a very senior monk called Ajahn Sumedho from the Thai
Hmm.
forest tradition.
Hmm.
He's 90 years old now, and of late,
Hmm.
I've been seeing some of his talks, listening to
Hmm.
him. When he begins and where he goes, I have no clue. And obviously, it is within the Buddhist territory of thought,
Hmm.
whatever he says, and very contemporary things he says. And
Hmm.
but when he finishes, you feel that everything was as perfect as it could have been.
Hmm.
And I get very inspired. In fact, Ajahn Jaisaro is the reason why I decided to go impromptu on the podcast because
Hmm.
um, if you plan, then you be clever.
Hmm.
And
Correct.
especially from the field that I come, I cannot plan. I would rather than be very authentic and see whether the question you asked stumped me, and for a microsecond you think, then you say, okay, it's a human experience. क्या क्या से क्या ही हो जाएगा, किसी और को कहीं हो रहा है तो they will also find some solace in it. Na?
Hmm.
It's not a condition that is just ours.
Hmm.
Suffering is our. Yesterday or today I read or heard this beautiful line: suffering is our common ground. And I
Hmm.
thought, oh my God, this is so beautiful.
Hmm.
Suddenly, suffering has a noble
Hmm.
nature to it. Na? When you think that it's a common
Hmm.
ground between all of us. And yeah, that's the reason to be kind enough, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a common ground that we have. So thank you. And I'll think about this if we can do a series which is not connected to the youth series, perhaps, because otherwise people will say that only both of us are speaking on each letter of the alphabet. Let us see. I've been trying to get a couple of people and have uh, three, four points of view on that same subject. But when it comes up, we shall see. I'll see you
Yes.
soon. Thank you so much.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming.
Bye.
Bye bye.